Hello class, today we're going to talk about project 4, which is a book jacket design. I have uploaded the project specs to D2L, so let's go over the specifications. The objective is the student will create a book jacket for a fictitious book. The jacket should be designed as a continuous piece. So you may choose an existing title, but you will not be able to redesign it. The dimensions are 7.5 inches by 16 inches. You don't want to modify that. That is the dimensions, okay? They fit inside of a tabloid standard size page, so it would be a good piece to have in your portfolio. The requirements is to have an attractive front cover, logical visual path throughout, unique and original, must have a barcode incorporated in the back cover. If photos are being used, they must be of high resolution at 300 dpi at 100%. So you don't want to use a 300 dpi photo and it's tiny and then you want to stretch it. That's not going to look good when you print it out. So you want to make sure that it's at 100% at 300 dpi. I don't know if that makes sense. Sometimes you just have to, it's trial and error. You have to see how it works, because we have the tendency when we go to InDesign to just stretch photos and we don't realize that we're stretching them so much that it's losing resolution. Okay, so the directions are: determine a creative name for your book. You can come up with your own or choose an existing one. Use InDesign to create the front and the back cover, and I will show you how to do that. Use Illustrator and or Photoshop for illustrations. So if you want to use, you can just use photographs and type, and I'll show you the options that we have. Create a PDF at the end and upload to D2L. So I have the dimensions here, so that's going to help you set that up. So first I would like to go over some examples. So this example here does not have the side flaps. As we can see in our project specs, these are going to be our flaps that fold inward of the book, and this will be your spine, and this would be the front cover, and this is the back cover. Okay, so so this example right here does not have the flaps, but I do like that they're using one continuous photo for the background. So don't think that you have to don't think that you have to design each panel separately. It could be one continuous photo in the background. Okay, so keep that in mind. This one I chose because it's just typography. So again, if you would like to incorporate that, that's you can choose an abstract photo. You can choose just type or shapes, lines, whatever you want. Or if you are an illustrator, this is also another option. You can, and see, it looks different when you have it flat, and then when you fold it, when you wrap it around the book, you'll see that this would make the front cover, and this would make the spine, and this is the back cover. It's missing the flaps here too, but I just wanted to show you how creative this is. And so don't think that you have to design each panel on its own separately. This one is more of an example of exactly what we're going to do, because it has the side panels, the front cover, the spine, and the back cover. And you see how they incorporated the barcode here. I think that's pretty creative. As far as the side covers, usually they have a little excerpt or little overview of what the story inside is, or Maybe on this side they could have a little bio of the author, and in the back sometimes they have reviews or something like that. Now don't ignore the spine. Just because it's a very small space does not mean that you should ignore it. It's still one of the most important part of the book, because when it sits on the shelf you have to be able to read it, and so make sure that it's legible and that it's attractive. This is an example of just setting it up in InDesign and just using photos for placement. For, you can create little boxes and put photos in there as well, and have color boxes and things like that. And this is another perfect example of what we're going to do. It has the side flaps and the front cover, the spine, and the back cover. Okay, so you can also incorporate the publishing house logo or something like that if you want to. This to me looks like something you could have created in Photoshop. So if you're really good with Photoshop, you should maximize that. So in Photoshop you can use your type with the title if you feel like you want to give it texture or something like that. But I really recommend like this type of font, this type of this much text to be designed in InDesign. But if you really want to, you can create this whole thing in Photoshop. It's just that I just want to teach you like the right way to do this. So I think InDesign, using InDesign and Photoshop and Illustrator, all of them together is the way to go. So yes, you can create your backgrounds in Photoshop and create like a collage if you want to, or your illustrations in Illustrator. You can use them all together. This is another example. It's an illustration. Here the side flaps are actually, you don't even know where it ends or it begins, but when it wraps around it just looks like one cohesive piece. So it's very nicely done. Okay, so next let's go to InDesign. When you're in InDesign, you go to File, New, Document, and here you want to say you want the landscape format. The width we said is 16, and the height is 7.5. Okay, and the margins, like we said before, are always 0.25, which is a quarter, and the bleeds is 0.125, which is 1/8 of an inch. You can check off facing pages. We don't need to do that yet. That's for like a magazine layout where you have two pages that face each other. And say OK. Okay, so now that I have this format here, now I kind of want to know where my panels start and where they begin, right? So the first thing I do, you want to make sure that you can see your rulers. So you go to View, and if you don't see your rulers, it would say Show Rulers or Hide Rulers. View, Show Rulers. Okay. Here, we're going to use that in a bit. We want to say we're going to use a rectangle. Okay. So starting from the black margin, which is your page, okay, you just create a box. Now this can get really confusing, but this is the easiest way that I can demonstrate how to create your margins and your lines, okay? So now I have this box, and you see up here where it says the width is 4.44. We want that to be 2.5. So that is 2.5, and you hit enter. Now where the ruler is, you want to drag out a guide. Okay, so you click and you drag and you have your guide. Now you probably can't see it, but if you move your box, you'll see that there's a little bright blue line, and so that's gonna help you. You'll see right now what I mean. So then you move your box and you align it to that guide that you just created. And now your next panel is 5. So you go up here on width and you say 5, enter. And you come to the ruler, you click and drag out another guide. Okay? So you do that again for the spine, which is, I believe, 1 inch. So we go in here, we say 1, oh, I put 2, 1, enter, and then we drag out a guide. Is that making any sense? Okay, you just have to keep on trying. Okay, so then here we have, again, it's a 5-inch panel. This is our front cover. Enter, and we say 5. We drag out the guide. Okay, so then this next one right here should be 2.5. Okay, so now we know exactly where our spine, our front cover, and our panels are. And if you don't want to see them, you go to Command semicolon or Control, and you can hide them. Okay, so you can view them, all your guides. This is what your page looks like. But this is what helps you see. So you can also do that in View, Screen Mode. I forget exactly where to get the to hide the guides and everything like that. I just know the shortcuts. Okay, so now I'm going to import a photo. Okay, so I want to make sure that if I design something in Photoshop, let's say I wanted the whole thing in the background to be, and that's your advantage. You can actually design the whole panel, the whole book jacket, and make room for the text. And that is a great advantage that you have, that you can create your collage and be conscious of the fact that you're going to have some text that's going to go there. Because sometimes you might find the perfect photo and there's no room for text, and then you have to create these boxes and it just doesn't look right. So I did my research and I found this futuristic type of photo that I found. Okay, so I create a box with this rectangle frame tool. That's where we can import a photo. Now you have to be very careful when you start using images because in InDesign, because you need to always, you have to create a folder with your InDesign file with all of your photos, and if you move around from computer to computer and you're using special fonts, you have to take your fonts with you. So it is a pain sometimes, but this is the way that it's done. So right now I'm going to import a photo, so I go to File and Place, or Control D, and I'm going to put in this picture. Now the photo was probably too small, but I'm just showing you just for the sake of this this tutorial. You have to make sure that all of your photos are at 100% 300 dpi. Okay, so in order for them to fit in the space that you have chosen, you go to Layout, or is it Object? Object, Fitting, Fit Content Proportionately. Okay, so now it's fitting in here. So Do you see where this is, when I go on, when I click on this selection tool, it selects the box it's in? Well, if you click on the white arrow, you can click the box that the actual photo, like the dimensions of the photo. So you can stretch that out, but you have to hold down Shift because otherwise it will distort. We don't want it to distort. Okay, so we can actually move this around inside the box with the white arrow. Okay, it takes a while to get a good handle on these things. So let's just say that we want, let's just say we want this side, we just want this, our cover to look like this. Okay, so I'm gonna say, and then I'm gonna add some text. Future city. And I'm gonna make it, get here swatches, make it white, and we're going to make this bigger. You hold down Shift and Control and make this, you can enlarge it like that. And tighten up the leading. It's 61 right now, so perhaps 48. Yeah, maybe less. Okay, so we have this here. You know, we want to put maybe the author name or, you know, some of the other content that goes there. Then we can create the spine, which we can give it a different color, perhaps a blue. And perhaps we want the same thing for the flap. And then for the back cover, I would like to duplicate this image. So if you hold down Option and drag, and with the white arrow, I'm going to move now the other side of the photo. So it kind of looks like it's continuous. And maybe continue this blue. I mean, you can design it any way you want. I'm just showing you really quickly what you can do and how you can create this in InDesign. So then we want, with the text tool, you want to create, click and drag, create a box. And here, see, I chose this picture because it gave me a lot of negative space where I can put text over it. So this is where your text goes. I mean, you can find real text about any story or whatever. It doesn't have to look, doesn't have to be real, okay? So, and then this one, I'm going to put it on the spine. I'm going to hit Option, click and drag. Okay, it's in the background, so I go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front, and then you want to flip it. So rotate 90 degree. Oh, that was not the way I wanted it to go. So this way. And so there you go. You want to put some text over here. Maybe a little picture of the author. And your text would look a lot better contrast with white. And if you hit Shift W, you can kind of see where that's going. So very blue. Okay, I see there's some lines on this one. I don't, or this one. There's a line. I don't know why. Okay, so that is how you can do that. You can use boxes and photos. I mean, it's all up to you how you want to design this. So um, looking forward to seeing this, seeing your designs. You want to go to File, Export. I know some of you are having trouble with if you're using a trial version. So um, you want to go to Print. This is the best way if you want to print this out in the future. Okay, so if you want to actually get a good print from your printer, you want to make sure that it's a PDF. Okay, so another thing I wanted to show you actually before I end this, links. Okay, so see how I'm using, it says I'm using this picture twice because I used it here and I used it here. So if I move this picture from my file folder, it's going to try to locate it. So if I don't have it, or if I don't bring it with me, let's say I went to school. If I went to school and I didn't have my pictures with me, or if I used another computer, it's going to try to locate that photo. So if it can't find it, it's going to create a really bad rendition of what the photo should look like. So you want to make sure that that's where you keep your folder with your photos and everything like that. So if you're working on a bigger project, you definitely need a folder for that. So you need to keep your InDesign file and your photos there with you. So that's just one of the things about InDesign, because it could be a really big project because it's meant for books, you know. So if you're missing your photo, you might get a little like exclamation mark or something like that over here. You have to go, there's these buttons here. To relink, it's just telling you like show it the path where it is. This one is go to link. It'll show you where in your file that photo is. You could have a whole bunch of photos and you're like, I want this one. If you click on that and say go to link, it'll take you where it is. And this one is update. So let's say you have a Photoshop file and you modified it or you moved something and you saved it. It's going to say, it's going to have a little exclamation mark like something happened to this file. So you want to make sure that you click on that and update that link. Okay, so that's that with the links. It is a pain sometimes. So sometimes a project like this, sometimes it's easier to do in Photoshop. But I just want to get you used to this text right here is so important. Sometimes students tend to work on the wrong programs, and I just want to make sure that you understand which types of files are worked with what type of program. So this would be a good one for this book design. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, just email me or call me. All right, take care.